Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is David from Daveden Web Dev, and on this channel I like to talk about all things WordPress, especially about accessibility and dynamic data. If you are new here, please just let me know in the comments. Just say you're new and we'll do our pleasantries. If you're a long-time subscriber, let me know in the comments as well, and we'll go into it. Today's video is not really a planned video, but it will be mostly talking about Dynamic Toolbox for Bricks, because I saw that they said that the promo is ending today. So I thought, why not just jump on stream and we'll test it out together, so to give you an idea of some of the features that you can expect, and we'll know from there. Please, if the sound is okay, let me know in the comments. Hi Lex, hi Jonathan, thank you for joining in. It's nice to see some wonderful faces in the chat. Yeah, so how are all of you doing this day? Are you working? Have you finished work? Are you free? Because for me, this week, my main colleague or client, he traveled. Jonathan, I don't know if he's in the stream as well. His name is George. So I don't know if he's on the stream. He's on the stream, he will join in and say hi. But otherwise, he would stay. He traveled, and because of that, we are basically free this week. Each 25 EXP. What does that mean? Is it, Jonathan? I didn't get the 25 EXP. Or 2.5 x speed. Oh, okay. Lex, you are 30 minutes. Okay. All right. Oh, hi, Eddie. Oh, nice. Just came back from a vacation. Oh, that's nice. How was the vacation? Where did you travel to? Was it somewhere far? Was it within the EU, or you traveled to like America for some reason? Oh, okay. Uh, oh, oh yeah. A new way to query code at the moment using. Okay, is that an AI tool, Jonathan? See, you're just looking for a new way to query code at the moment. Oh, okay. Yeah, this chat crowns. I have no idea how it came up. I think that's a new feature from YouTube to try to get more engagement on our YouTube channels. So let me see if I can just show it briefly on screen. Let me just pull up the chat and switch my screen. So we get all of these crowns, number 1, number 2. I don't even know how they calculate all of those crowns. But well, they give people crowns based on different things. But yeah. So today I was just, because I was at work somewhere and I finished early, so I decided, why not just go live and talk about Dynamic Toolbox for Breaks. Let's just see how it goes. And oh, okay. So he says I can turn them off. You can turn them off. Let's see how we do that. So in the settings, where do I go to? Settings. I only see reactions. I'm not sure where to turn it off. So I think we'll just leave it out for today, and then we'll figure it out for the next stream. Because I don't think many people like to see those crowns. Yeah. So I'm thinking Lex and Jonathan, I know both of you are Edge users, so probably you all are testing Edge a lot today, while I am more of a Bricks user. So most of my testing is on Bricks. Then sometimes I look into Elementor and build areas and any other page builder that pops up in view. But yeah, I know a lot of people say they prefer Edge because it gives you more closeness to the actual code, so you can actually write your HTML code yourself. So many people like to use Edge, and I think all of them are getting there. Like Bricks, I remember I saw the live stream from the webinar from Jimmy, where he was showing how you can use advanced thema to basically add, using AI or your manual coding, to add HTML into Bricks and to convert it to the blocks for you. So you can write your HTML and it auto convert it into blocks or into elements for you. So I think all of these builders are all getting there somehow. Yeah. So in case anybody doesn't know, the webinar, his channel used to be called mygraphic.design, and he has now moved over to a more tailored name for web design because he's focusing on web design more nowadays. So to cover everything, he switched his channel name to the Webinar. So in case you ever see in my chats, you see the Webinar is Jimmy, who used to be called mygraphic.design. He still has that other domain name for his graphic business, but for the web design business, he decided to create a separate channel for that. So yeah. Advanced thema. Jonathan is saying that advanced thema is complex. Yeah, I think the thing about advanced thema is that it is very powerful. It has a lot of features in it, which can be a good thing and can also be a bad thing because it becomes so overwhelming for the users. And I think that is why, if you see in Bricks 2.0, they are taking on that idea on board that less is more. So what they are doing is they are decluttering all of the top bar. I don't know if you've seen Bricks 2.0. We'll check it out soon. Previously, we used to have lots of icons at the top. Now they are slowly removing all of those icons and then centralizing them into just one system icon, and that's where you get most of the settings that you need. I think Elementor did the same thing with their own like top bar experiment, where most of the features are hidden under the E icon. So whenever you click the E icon, you get to see all of your history and all of the other settings that you need, your user preferences and things like that. That's the same thing that Bricks are doing as well. They are now trying to remove most of the icons from the top and just make it a bit cleaner. In a way, I like it. In another way, it introduces more clicks. So I think it all depends on how you take a look at it and how you view it. You all see? So yeah, let's now go ahead and take a look at the Dynamic Toolbox for Bricks. If you haven't heard of it before, let me open up the website so you can go ahead and check it out. Dynamic Toolbox for Bricks. Let me make sure it's opened. I'll leave a link to it in the description somewhere so you can check it out. And let me switch my screen. Okay, so it's called, it says that Dynamic Toolbox for Bricks, a natural extension to Bricks. And Paul Charlton, he did a first look video where he said a lot of the features that were out in the alpha release. In the beta release, they've added some more features. But yeah, that's it. Then you can grab your promo. To show you a link to grab your promo. And you'll be able to get a discount, I believe. Yeah, so you get some discounts. Previously, it was one starter site, it was 39 euros. Now it is 29 euros. So they've removed 10 euros basically for the yearly. I have the lifetime, so I just bought the lifetime. So you can get the lifetime version, 1,000 sites for 319 euros. Otherwise, it would go up to 399 euros, and that's a lot. But yeah, for 1,000 sites, I think that is quite generous. All depends on if you use the features. So that's the main thing. Do you use the features? If you don't use the features, you think it's too expensive. If you use the features, then you will think that it is worth it. So it all depends on you. So we'll try to go through the features together and see exactly what it has. So it says that it has ACF flexible content, ACF Frontend Form, add to calendar, then add to favorites, add to woo wish list, clear favorites, dynamic API, dynamic charts, the Google Maps, Google Map directions, OpenStreetMap, and then PDF button. So today I'll mostly be testing out the ones for the bricks form. So we'll test out some of these fields that come with bricks form, and I will also be testing out things like the PDF generator, the PDF button, just to see how it works, and maybe the add to calendar, just a few of the features. One thing to note is that for the ACF features, it requires that you have ACF Pro. If you don't have ACF Pro, it will not work. So for the ACF features, they don't work with the free version of ACF, only the Pro version of ACF. So keep that in mind. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining in. We'll catch you later. Yeah. I know Jonathan is more focused on Etch nowadays, not on bricks. So that's why I think it's not his cup of tea today. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at this dynamic toolbox for bricks. So I have it installed on my site. One thing that is nice is that once you buy the dynamic toolbox for bricks, it comes with a special version of dynamic shortcodes that works only in bricks. So what I mean by that is, if I go back to my own website and I go to the plugins, you see I have dynamic toolbox for bricks. By installing that, it gives me an extra license, or not the same license, but it will activate dynamic shortcodes as well. So now if you go to the dynamic shortcodes and you go to settings, or license, dynamic shortcodes license, you see that it says active via the dynamic toolbox for bricks. So that's what happens, that it's once you have the license for dynamic toolbox for bricks, it helps you to automatically activate the license for dynamic shortcodes. The only limitation is if you go to the settings, if you have the full license, you get access to all of the other features. So you can use the dynamic shortcodes even in your post title, in your post content, in your excerpt, Gutenberg blocks, in dynamic tags of Elementor, in breakdowns, Oxygen, as a shortcode. See, it is disabled for now, so that is another limitation. You'll not be able to use the DSH shortcode, so, and some other limitations. But at least most of the bricks related shortcodes will work. So yeah, that is something you just need to note. So now let's go ahead and see. Let me just zoom in just a little bit. Yeah, okay. So if we go under dynamic toolbox for bricks, you can see getting started. That it shows that we have all of those features like I showed from the website. We have the dynamic maps, the charts, the bricks form extensions. So basically it's kind of like going back towards how we had it with BricksForge, where you have that pro form element that was an extension of the regular bricks form. Similar thing we have with the dynamic toolbox for bricks, whereby when you install it, it now adds some extra features to the regular bricks form. So you have some extra features that were not there before. You now get access to those features, and more is the same principle they used with Elementor. That's the same principle they're using with bricks, that they're extending the features of the current builder. In one way, it's good. In the other way, like we've seen from past experiences, we know that Bricks tends to adopt the features that third-party developers introduce, because once they see that it is a good feature and it is a popular feature that everybody is requesting, then they tend to adopt something similar. So we might get to see the case where some of the features, I don't think they can adopt everything, because the Dynamic.ooo team, they are very good with dynamic data. They have some extra features in dynamic data that are not found in almost any other builder. So, but that's one thing to note, that some of the features might either overlap with other plugins out there, or the Bricks native builder might take on some of the features, but not all. And I know the team, they'll keep improving and getting better. So kind of like advanced themer. If the Bricks team tend to adopt some of the features, they will just basically come up with some newer ideas and newer features, and it will keep getting better. So yeah, just something to note. Okay, so let's switch back, and we'll now test out some of the features. So like I said, I will test out the form related features. I think I had an example somewhere, so let me go to my pages and we'll do the toolbox form test. Let me view it. So here is an example that I had. I'm using some of the features that are embedded in the dynamic toolbox for Bricks. One of the features is the phone number. I know a lot of people have asked for this feature to be added in BricksForge, in Bricks, and so on, that they want an international phone number system that basically adapts so that for each of the phone numbers, you get it's formatted in the right way, so that if the person adds maybe more numbers that are necessary, it will not submit, and so on. So that's something that the dynamic toolbox for Bricks adds into the Bricks form. The other thing you notice now is a bit of dynamic conditions. So if I say David and I put my email, let me put a random email. I think I have one tool that auto generates. Let's see if it works, rather than having to write all these things myself. So I'll say, I think it's form. Okay, yes, it's called populate form fields from web developer tool, the Chrome extension. If I do that, I think it should just populate with random numbers for me. Okay, I have to. So let's say I add interest. Oh, hi George. Thanks for joining in. How's your vacation? I think you're on vacation now, right? How's your vacation? So let's say I'm trying to calculate some simple interest, and I've put in the values. So I've put in, maybe the principal is £1,000, the rate is maybe 5%, and the period is, let's say, 5 years. So it will take out all of the fields. So you see the David. So hi David, you'll be expected to pay a simple interest of, it calculates the number for me, that is 5% of 1,000 multiplied by 5 years gives me £250. Then the total amount will be the 1,000 plus the simple interest, which gives me 1,250. So it gives you calculation fields. Oh, nice. Oh, how is the weather in Budapest? Is it cold, hot? Is it rainy? Or how is it? So yeah, going back to the form. So you see we have all of these fields added to the form. Then it also has a dynamic select field. So watch what happens. Right now I'm on the genre as action. It gives me two options, F1 and heads of state. If I switch the genre to maybe comedy, the movie changes to only heads of state. If I switch it to drama, it switches to F1 or marked men. Go to sports, there are no movies there, so it is empty. So basically, whatever value is in the first dynamic select field gets like the condition to populate the second select field. So that is one thing that was added. Hi Oscar, thank you for joining in. How are you enjoying your Bricks 2.0? Are the features nice or not? Oh George, Budapest is hot? Oh yeah. Over here too is a bit hot, but I think it's in the UK we had a bit of rain. So it's slight rain about an hour ago. But just like light showers. It wasn't much. But so in Budapest it's hot. Oh nice. Interesting. So we here we're just enjoying our nice weather. How is it in where you are? Oscar, is the weather hot, cold, nice, warm? And Jimmy as well. How is the weather over there? So yeah, those are the features of the form that we'll be checking out. There are other features I didn't add. Like one of them I will show as well. So let's switch back to my screen and we'll take a look. The other feature I didn't show was related to the PDF. Let me see if I have set it up. Let me go edit with Bricks. And let's see. This is the form. Let me go under the PDF generator. Okay, so at format equal to Y. Let's see if it works. Save. Okay, so now that we have the form, let's choose comedy, heads of state. Let me go ahead and send the form. Okay, so the form has been submitted successfully. Oh, okay. Thank you for joining in, Eddie. It was nice having you here. Enjoy your work, the rest of your work. You can always watch the playback later if you do decide to finally jump into Bricks completely, one day. So yeah, I've submitted my form successfully. Now let's go ahead and see if my PDF was generated. So I'll just simply quickly go to, let me just go to my media. Just preview my media files. And you'll see the form was added with the dynamic data of the genre and the year added dynamically because that's what I set it up to show. If I go ahead and inspect it, and let's just go ahead and copy it to clipboard, preview it, and you get your form, which I just named invoice. Let me zoom a little bit. So you see, it says, "Hi David, given the principal of £1,000 to be held for 5 years." Basically, these are the numbers that I added. 5 years, simple interest, simple rate of 5% per year. The total simple interest will be £250, and you'll be expected to pay back a total of 1,250. So all of these are the dynamic data from my form. I was able to use it to populate a PDF. So you can create like dynamic invoices for your clients. They fill out a form and it automatically generates the invoice for them and other things like that. So that's a nice way. And even the movie recommendation, because the person chose comedy, it told them that they can watch the following movies: Heads of State and Despicable Me 4. So it is a conditional logic here that depending on what field the user selected, it will give them the name. So the names of the movies. So you can put some conditional logic however you want. So we'll be testing out all of these now. So let's go ahead and start from scratch. Yeah, George, I'm teaching Bricks today. Bricks is the main builder that I like to use for building my websites. Previously, it used to be Elementor. Then I basically made a transition to Bricks, and that's where I am now. So I'm focused more on Bricks nowadays. But yeah, if anybody has any questions related to Dynamic Toolbox for Bricks or Bricks in general, let me know in the comments, and we'll try to address those questions. But yeah, let me switch back, and we'll try to build a form from scratch. If you have any ideas of a form you want me to build, just let me know in the comments, and we'll try to do that. But let me just go ahead and create a new page, and I'll just call the page maybe live stream test. Publish that and edit with bricks. So once you have Dynamic Toolbox for bricks installed, if you go all the way down to the bottom somewhere, let me see, I'm scrolling down. So at the bottom, you now see an accordion called the Dynamic Toolbox for bricks, where you have some features. Because I have ACF Pro, you'll see ACF Flexible Content and ACF Frontend Form. If you don't have ACF Pro, those two will be left out. They will not be there. Then we have the Add to Calendar, Add to Favorites, Clear All Favorites, Add to Woo Wishlist, Dynamic API, Dynamic Charts, the Dynamic Google Maps, and so on. Then we have a PDF button as well. So we'll be testing out these. I have not really used them well. The only thing I tested out briefly was the form. So we are all looking at it together with fresh eyes today. So if anything is not working, I will write it down and I will submit it to the team to tell them that, okay, this is a bug or that is a bug. So we are basically going through this together. It's not like I have any special knowledge of the tool. So yeah, I just opened up my notepad on my other screen. So that's what I'll be using. Okay. So first, let me go ahead and add a section. Let me try and use the bricks command palette and see how it works. So I'll press Ctrl K. Oh no, okay, now I have to switch it out. So let me switch the shortcuts from internal. Right now is working with the command UI instead of the bricks version. I need to disable the shift key or the keyboard shortcuts. Yes, let me change it to Alt K, and yeah, that's it. Then let me reload the page. Okay, so that should work now. So if I press Ctrl K, why is it not popping out? Ctrl K. Interesting. Am I not on the right? Did something change? Ctrl K. Okay, let me just disable command UI. Disable. So that is plugin. Disable it to command UI. And refresh the page. And now let's try again. Ctrl K. Okay, that means something is off. Settings. Theme styles. Huh. Interesting. Wasn't it Ctrl K to open up the command palette? Or was it a different key? Plugins. Or appearance. I must be on the the webinar is saying, oh, okay, I'm on the beta version. Okay, this site is using the wrong version, the beta version. Let's see if I can download the right version. Let me go over to my account on my other screen. I was wondering why the command palette was not working. So let's switch it out. And oh, okay, nice. Rain. Yeah, over here as well, we had a little bit of rain. But just a little. It wasn't much. I was working out in the back when the rain started. So yeah, I'm trying to download the latest version for Bricks on my other system screen, and now I can install it. So let's go to Appearance. But first, let me go back and activate my Command UI, because I like Command UI. Activate it. Then I can now go to Appearance, Themes, Add New Theme, Upload a theme, and let me go ahead and drop the new theme. Note that the dynamic shortcodes, the dynamic toolbox for Bricks only works with version 2.0 of Bricks and above. It doesn't work with 1.9 or any other one below that. So just know that. Oh, okay. Thank you for joining. Ano. You can always check out the replay later. But yeah, let me switch my screen back. So I've installed Dynamic Toolbox for the Bricks version 2.0 RC2. So let me replace. Okay, so that's done now. Let's go back to our Bricks, refresh. And yeah, so now, now the settings has come out. Yeah, the command palette. So I can press Ctrl K, and that will open up. If I press Alt K, because I've changed my keyboard shortcut, let's see. Yeah, that should open the Command UI version, while Ctrl K opens up the Bricks version. Okay, so yeah, that's all settled. And what was I trying to do? Okay, I was trying to try out the elements. I'm trying to test out this elements version. So let's see if I can use only keyboard to do it. So that will be... Oh, is that not it? Oh, it's the plus icon. Ah, okay. So I have to press Ctrl K, then plus to go to the elements selector. And we start having to use at symbol, at container. So let's say at section. And within the section, I want to add maybe a heading. So at heading. And we want to add the form element. So let's add form. Does it do step up? So let's say, how do we do step up again? That's the caret symbol. Oh, I'm using a different keyboard now. I don't even know where the caret symbol is on my keyboard. Okay, I found it. Keep switching between the Mac keyboard. Okay, so does that work? So let's say container again. And let me press enter and see if it works. Insert. Oh, so I can't just press enter. How do I insert without the keyboard? Okay, so tab and then insert. Okay, so the up arrow doesn't work. So that means step up doesn't work. I'll have to test out some more of the command palette things and see which ones work. Oh, okay, yeah. I remember I was on your live stream the other day, right? The one with what was her name? I just got the blank now. But yeah, I know I joined the live stream where you were on it. So yeah. Oh yeah. Oscar, that was Bricks 2.0. The beta, the RC version. That's where they removed all of those pages and everything and just made everything into the command palette. The first beta release didn't have all of those command palette and everything. It was the RC version that had the command palette. Yes, exactly. Barbara from Wiki Design. How did I just blank out of the names? Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. And then 3 clicks more. They said you have to use command. Is it that much? Let's try it out and see how far we can do to get the form or the pages. So let's say Control K, and then we press the slash, and it takes us to basically Control K slash. Then you have to press the number you want. So either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I want to go to posts, I'll just press 2. So basically /2 takes me to all of my posts. /4 to my custom post type called actors. And then it has all of the actors there. /5 will take me to all of the movies that I added. Thank you very much for joining in. Thank you. my channel keeps switching between Elementor, bricks, and basic accessibility tutorials. So that's what my channel is all about most of the time. So yeah, so we have all of these. So what do you think about this whole palette, Oscar? So the idea is that you have to press Control K or Command K if you're on a Mac. Then it remembers your last state. So if you're not on the, if you were on the builder, let's say we were on the builder before, you would have had to press Control K, then slash, and then the number. So the number will be 3 for pages or whatever number you want. Before you now start searching within the page, let me see if I press Control, then start pressing, okay, the down arrow key and up arrow key to get through the actual pages. Can I just search for the name of the page? Home. Okay, yes, you can just search for the name of the page as well. So when I've gotten to pages, I can search for maybe add new movie. Can I create a page from here? Yeah. So I have to press tab to go to create page, or you can just use your mouse. I'm just trying to see if it is possible to do everything without a mouse. But if you want to use a mouse, you can now go ahead and click on the create, or you can just press the tab key to do create and to create a new page called add, I think. But let me not do that. So yeah, we are on our page. Yeah, it's not 20 clicks. It's just it's just a few clicks. It's to go to pages, Control K. Oh no, Control K /3, and you're on the pages, and you can start typing the name of the page you want, or you can scroll by the page. So that is Control K / and the number 3. That's all. It should become muscle memory at some point. Okay, so we have our heading. Do I have dynamic? Okay, no, I don't have dynamic bricksforge installed. I was trying to see the comparison between the bricksforge terminal and the command palette, but I don't have it installed here. So we have our form. Let's go ahead and drop in a new form widget or element. Okay, so now let's start trying. This form is going to be about, let's do the same thing, the simple interest. So it's a simple interest calculator. Okay. Then let me set it as a H1 because that's the main heading here. For the form, I don't like how the form is so light and grayish that it's hard for me to see. I guess some people can see this easily, but for me, it takes a while to see it. So let's say I want to give it a title of form. Oh no, DJ form. Okay, so it's not styled yet. So I have a class name. Then I would have to go to is it typography? Yes. And no, first I have to add labels so that it's easy to see. So show label, show asterisks. Then let me increase the size of the label a bit. I don't need any placeholder text. So for typography, yes, let's go there. No, that's the regular typography for the inputs. Let's see for the label. Yeah, I know. So for the label, where is the option? Is it typography? Let's see. No, that is Interesting. I know I saw it just now. Okay. I can't believe I actually skipped past label typography. That's one thing when you have some vision. Okay, I already had a text for the font size before. I think by default it's like 15 pixels for the font size. Let me go ahead and remove it so that we can all see it together. So if I remove it, you see how tiny the font is. It's like 15 pixels. When I don't see why my form should have a 15 pixel form label. So I always move it to at least 16 to 18 pixels. Yeah, I agree, Oscar. The number of clicks that these keystrokes, I know they expect you to just use your, you can also use the mouse and click, but you have to now click multiple times. It's helpful for keyboard users to be able to access it and press the command palette and everything. But I liked the way the, like, BricksForge did it, that it was, the command palette was only for one thing, so it was easy to do it. Because let's go ahead and see the examples of, maybe I should even install, or let me see if I can open a page with BricksForge's version later. But with, say, command UI, if I press double shift, let me click on the page first. Yes, now I'm in the page. Double shift, I can quickly do the searches by searching. This is the base version where I can search for everything. If I want to just go directly to my plugins, I can just say plugin deactivate. Well, I'm in the search. I have to. That's the only difference here. So plugin deactivate. Then I can quickly deactivate a plugin just by pressing two keys. I go directly to plugin deactivate. If I want to go to plugin activate, I can just write PA. Oh, it always goes back to the search. I need to PA. Then I can quickly activate a plugin directly. This is command UI, different from command palettes from Bricks. If I want to do anything, so if I want to, let's say, go to my users, I just press U and I go to my users and I can quickly, like, filter by user role and other things. If I want to search through the plugin repository and quickly install a plugin, that's also easy. All I have to just do is just click the PR, plugin repository, and I can quickly search for maybe Elementor for any reason. If I want to install Elementor, or I want to install something like Better Search Replace, I can just quickly install it directly from here with just one keystroke. But with the command palettes, because everything goes through Command K, so you have to first press Command K, then you press the next one, which is, remember that, okay, for post types is slash, and oh, it didn't even change. What happened now? Okay, what just happened? I'm stuck. /3. Oh, so I have to go away from it. Hash. Okay, then press /3 now. Okay, /2. Okay, I don't know what happened the other time. Well, yeah, that is it. Anyway, we'll keep going. Okay, so we have our form added to the page. Now you get to see more options in the form element once you have the Dynamic Toolbox for Bricks installed. We are back to our example. If you go and click on Add Field, if you check under Type, you'd see the basic version that we have, which are text, text area, tel, number, URL, checkbox, select, radio, files, and so on. But if you now scroll down to the bottom, you now see some extra fields. Some of them include the calculator, live HTML, formatted number, mirror field, range, dynamic select, and the international phone. So these are extra fields that are added to the regular Bricks form. So we'll try out the calculator field because we're trying to create a simple interest calculator. So let's say we have taken up the person's name, the email, and now we want to get their phone number. So we just search for the international phone number. and I'll give it a label of phone. The one thing that you just need to remember is for each of them, just make sure you give them a proper name attribute. So for the first one, I'll give it an attribute of name, or maybe F name, just so that it doesn't conflict with anything. So F underscore name. Then for the second one, which is email, I'll give it an attribute of email. For maybe I don't need the message. Let me delete the message for now. So name, email, phone number. Then we want to now get all of those fields like the principal, the rate, and the time. So add field. This time I'll choose a number field. So let's look for number. And you can give it a minimum number, maximum number, step. For the principal, I think the step, let's just say the step is in hundreds. So like 100, 200, 300. Then this will be called principal. I don't need any placeholder for my forms because for accessibility reasons, the placeholder should be like a last resort. If you don't need a placeholder, don't put it. Because what happens when you add a placeholder is when a screen reader user goes on the form input, he starts to hear the label and then the placeholder. So he hears the thing twice. So ideally just remove the placeholder, don't add it, just only use the label. Okay, so the attribute name will now be, in this case, maybe say principal, or let's just say amount. Then the next one will be another number field, or you can use other kinds of fields. Let's say the rate is a select field. So let's go to select, and then I'll say this is the rate in percentages. No, percentage, and I don't need any placeholder. The value would be blank, but then we now have to add the options. So the first option will be, maybe we can do it in the form of value label. So let's do that. I'll say the first one is 5, but on the front it should say 5%. Second one will be 10%, maybe 20%, and 25%. Okay, so the label will be 5%, 10%, 20%, or 25%, but the value will be 5, 10, 20, 25, because that's what we're going to be using for our calculation. So we have that. Then the next one is, let's say we have our rate principal, we have the rate, then let's add one for the time. Let me just duplicate the rate, and that will be the time. For that one, let me just use a checkbox just so that we can show that we can mix and match different fields. So checkbox for the time, and for this one it will be 1 year, 2 years, it will be 3 or 5 years, and 10 years. Okay, so we have all of those fields. Then we can close that out. So we have our principal. Let's just put the unit so that the person who is filling the form will know in what unit is filling it. So let's say, should we say dollars or pounds? So let's say pounds. Pounds. Then the time will be in years. Sorry for all this scrolling. Can be disorienting, but the time is in years. And we have all of our fields. So we have name, email, phone number, the principal, the rate, and the time in years. So let's save this. What we can now do is we can now add some calculation and a live HTML to return the calculation. So add a new field. I'll now choose one of the Dynamic Toolbox fields, and the first one I'll be using is the calculator field. and it gives you exactly how you should do it. So you say form dot field underscore name. So whatever the name attribute of each of those form fields, you put it there. Then you can do any JavaScript manipulation that you normally do with calculations. So for the first one, let me just, it is the simple interest. The attribute name, I'll just write interest. Okay. So what you now write is form dot, the name attribute you put for each of them. The first one was, the name attribute was, attribute name was amount. So I'll write form dot amount. Where's my field? Form dot amount. Let's say multiplied by form dot, the other one was called rates, multiplied by form dot time, I believe, divided by 100. That will give us our calculation. And then you can choose to hide in form, so you hide it visually, but you can still use that calculation value in your submission or in a live HTML value and so on. So let's do that. Let's say hide in form, but then add a new field, and that field will be the live HTML field. So live HTML. And in this one, it's more or less like when you're working with what's it called now, the Timber and Twig. So it's double curly brackets for this one. So basically like Timber, double curly brackets, and we'll say form dot name. I believe that's, oh, I call it f underscore name. If you go back to our first field, the name field, I gave it an attribute name of f underscore name. So I can just start with that, and this scrolling just keeps going to the wrong place. So let's say this is the live output. So I can say hi. Thank you for your showing interest, or whatever you want to put. This is just HTML that will be shown in the form, but it's not going to be submitted anyway, just shown in the form as a HTML. But you can now reference different fields in the HTML. So if I want to reference the interest, I can say the simple, or the interest is in pounds, form dot interest. And yeah, let's just leave it at that. Save it, and we'll preview it on the front end. And now if I add the values, so let's say 1000, and choose 2 years. Did it change? Could not find rate. Oh, okay, I didn't call it rate. What did I call it? Rate was, oh, I didn't give it any. So you have to give them attribute names, all of them. You have to give them their attribute name. So this is rate, and the other one was time in years, attribute name time. Save it, then I can refresh, and we'll try again. So let's say 1000 and 2 years. Why is it not working? Could not find time. I just put time now, right? Didn't I just write time? Attribute name time in years. Is that not attribute? Yeah, attribute time in years. And let's go back. Simple interest, form dot amount, form dot rate, form dot time. Yeah, it should work. Save, refresh it. Could not find time. Still not finding the time. Oh no, this is funny. Okay, let me change it to something else. So let's say times with an S. Okay, let's try again. Refresh. Could not find times. Oh yeah, because this is a checkbox, not a regular field. So let's see, how do we access checkboxes? I never actually looked at that. So simple interest. I will have to ask. I never looked at how to access the let's just change it back to something that is not an array. I'm not sure how to access an array yet. I would have to take a look at the documentation. Oh, hello, thank you for joining in. We're just talking briefly about Dynamic Toolbox for bricks and some of the new features that it adds. Okay, so now I will have to ask the team how to access arrays in the calculation field. So that's something I have to remember. That's one. Okay, so I've written it down. But for now, let's just switch it back to a select field, which will return a single value, not an array. So a single value. And let's save it. I think now it should work. Refresh. Yeah, okay, so now it's working. So if I say 1,000, 5%, and 1 year, you can see the interest is £50. If I say 10,000, that'll be £500, and so on. Let me see what was the error. Oh, I can ignore that. That is for something else. But yeah, basically that is working. So 10,000, 5%, and 1 year, it gives me the value. The other thing you can now do is add some dynamic condition to show that, okay, I only want this final value to show up if the user has filled in their name, so name David. If the user has filled in their name and all of the form calculation values, that's the only time the output should show up. So what you need to just do is go back to your form, and for the field that you want to work with, there's a field display condition. Add condition, then the field name that you want to compare against. In this case is the f_name. It should not be empty, so it's not empty. Then the next field is field for the amount. That should also not be empty. Then the field for, so the name, the amount, the rate should also not be empty. No, sorry, it's not empty. And finally, the last one is, I don't know why the focus keeps jumping around. Maybe because I'm zoomed in quite well. The times should not be empty. Okay, so we have our 4 conditions. So let's save it. And now we can go back and refresh. And you see, oh wait, am I not in the right field? Oh, I was adding all the conditions to the wrong field. I was adding them to the time field. Oh, can we copy these fields? No, we can't. So I just wasted time. Wrong field. Let's hide the times, and then is this the live output I wanted to add conditions to. So I'll go to my field display condition, add condition, and I'll say f_name should not be empty. Can I duplicate it? Yeah, duplicate. The other field is the rate, should not be empty. Duplicate it. Fname, rate. Then the next one is, I want that the times should not be empty, and the amount should not be empty. So let's save that, and we'll go ahead and preview it on the front end. So I've added display conditions to my form field called the live output. So if I refresh it, it should work now. So yes, now that field is hidden only when the conditions are met. So if I put the name, it still would not show up until I put a principal, which would be, let's say, 1000. I can even add a condition that if the principal is less than 1000, then the interest should not show up. So if I say the live output for the interest, not the interest, I mean the principal is less than 1000. So the amount, if the amount is less than 1000, then don't show up. Okay, so let's go back, refresh. So first I have to give it a name, and the amount should be, okay, if it's less than 1000, show up, I mean, but if it's more than 1000, it shouldn't show up. I keep switching these conditions in my head. It is what should happen for it to show. So in this case, I said it should be less than 1000. So whenever it is less than 1000, if it's just 900, it should show up. 1000, it will hide, basically. So that's how you can add conditions. This is the condition for when it should happen. So this is the condition for when it is true, not condition for when it is false. So just keep that in mind. And I think it is all working based on the AND condition, not OR. You can't switch it to an OR based condition. Everything has to be AND. So it is, if the amount is that, and the times is that, and the rate is that, and the name is this. So it is based on the AND condition. And yeah, that is the main thing for the form. Let's see, for the PDF, you can now go over to your PDF generator. So first of all, you have to create a template for your PDF. Let's go to Dynamic Toolbox and go to the PDF templates. So that is under Dynamic Toolbox and PDF templates. You just have to create a template. So I'll create a new template, give it a name. So let's just say this is live test, and you can do some settings, which is choose what the font family should be, and some other simple styles. Because it's a PDF generator, I think they will have to add something in the documentation to explain how to use it. You can't really use some of the well-known CSS features for the PDF. It's only basic features. I think it's the same way you write your email outputs, where you have to use a kind of table design. I think that's a similar way you do it with the PDF forms as well, but I will confirm and do a proper video about it. But yeah, I think you can add in all of your normal HTML, so your H1, H2s, H3s, your P tags. But when you're trying to do any kind of CSS styling, like display flex, display grid, and all of that, I don't think those will work. I'm not sure. But yeah, so let's now try to add some dynamic data. So first, let me add a title. So the title of the form would be simple interest, and you can actually use the dynamic shortcode. So any dynamic shortcode can work here. So I can say simple interest for, and I'll just put one of the dynamic shortcodes, which is the date now at format equal to year. I can also use from the form. I can call the data from the form, which is form colon and then the field value. So I can say form colon the F name. So this is my H1. Then the P tag, I can say hi form on the form F name. This is just an example. You can use a list. You can say your simple interest is form I think I called it interest. Yes. Interest. Let's see. I think I can also do some other things like add arithmetic here. So I can say the total amount would be plus the form interest and thank you very much for joining in. I'll even soon be jumping off as well, but I will just make sure I touch on the ones that I can touch on, and then we'll jump off. Because I think Lex should be having a stream sometime soon. I'll have to check the timing. But yeah, thank you for joining in. So the total amount would be, I can use dynamic shortcodes in the form. So I'm using the arithmetic plus, so say plus the interest and the form amount. So let's see if all goes well. This will show up in the output. Now let me go ahead and publish it. So we have our templates created. You can do some other styling. Like I said, I think it's going to be with table styling if you want to add like columns and things like that. Okay, so we have the basic form. Now all I have to do is come back to my form, refresh it, and I'll make sure that if you go under the actions, there should be a new action. So not just email. If you click on the action and you go down to the bottom, you see some new actions. One of them is favorites, and the other is PDF generator. If I choose the PDF generator, then I can simply go to my generator of my PDF and choose the template. So the template was called live test. So I'll click on that. The file name is also dynamic. So you can use dynamic data here, I believe. So I can say something like, I can get from the form. So let's say simple interest dash, let's say I want to show the person's name. So I'll say F, which is written there, form column, the field ID. Let me just make sure I'm getting it right. So let's look at my old form. So let me go to my page, all pages, and test it out and see what I used as the file name before. Oh no, Ctrl Z. So under my form. Okay, yeah, so exactly. So basically just because I saw the word field ID there, so it confused me a bit. But I think the field ID is still the name. So I can say form underscore column, form column, the name of the field I want to address, which is F underscore name in this case. I can also address any other field, like maybe the name of this page. I can just address it as well. So that's post, title, and so on. But let me not do that. Let me say something more generic, like this year. So date now at format equal to year. And let's see. So save. The other things you can do is determine where do you want it to save. Should it save in the media library, or you want to save it in your uploads directory but not show up in the media library? You can choose that, and then you choose the exact path for the PDF. So maybe you don't want it to be showing up in a regular folder but in a more secure folder, so you can do that. And you can also choose to attach to email. So all of these you have access to. Okay, so let's just choose that I want it to save to the media library so it's easy to access, and then I'll save it. Okay, so we have that. We have our template. Now we just have to go ahead and test it. Let me open a new tab, and then we'll go ahead and test. First is the name. So I'll say Joshua. email test at email@example.com. The phone number, it should be United Kingdom, and that should be 074 1234 89. Okay, so that is the number. The principal, like I said, if it is less than 1,000, it will show up. If it's more than 1,000, it wouldn't show. So if I say 100, you see the number will show up there. But if I go over 100, then it disappears because that's the conditional logic that I added. The rate, let's say 20%. The time, 2 years. Okay, so we have our values. Let's go ahead and send. Oh yeah, because I don't have my email set up, so that's why it gave me an error. I don't have the SMTP set up for this site. So let's go back to the form. Just remove the email. Save. Refresh. Okay, so let's try again. Joshua. Example. Okay, the United Kingdom. Okay. Or let's just even try and add something that is not correct. Maybe more numbers than normal and see if it works. So this will be 199. Let's see, send. Yeah, because it is not the correct number for the United Kingdom, it gives me an error. But I think if I put it as the correct number, 5, 6, 7, I think this is the correct number. Let's see. And press send. Okay, should be between 100 and 200. Okay, so let's do 200 and send. Okay, so the message is successfully sent. Now I can go to my media library and we should see our form. So the form name was simple interest Joshua, because that's the name I said it should take from the name of the user and the current year, which is 2025. So we get the form or the PDF. I can copy it and preview it on the front end, and we get our form. Hi Joshua, that's my name that I put there. Your simple interest is 10, which is, has it cleared already? Yeah, I think it has cleared already. 10. The total amount will be the 200 that I set as the principal plus 10. So you can mix and match multiple things together and they all work. So you can use dynamic shortcodes, any dynamic shortcodes you have. So if you have a kind of complex conditional logic somewhere in your shortcodes, you can mix from the form, pass it through the dynamic shortcodes, and then use that to generate a PDF. So that's for the PDF generator. You can use it also in your calculation field. You can add other things like the mirror field that will basically mirror what is in one field and output it to another field. Let's see if it's how it works. I'm also curious, so let's inspect it together. Let me make sure I close all of the other ones I don't need. Yeah, so that is for the PDF. So the other fields that are there are, if you look at the type, so we have the calculator. We have checked out the calculator, the live HTML. The next one is, let's see, formatted number, and let's give it a name. So maybe output final. Okay. Then the source field name. So where did we get our calculation? We use the simple interest as that. So simple, that was called interest as the name. Remember, it's always the name of the field that we are referencing, not the ID or any other thing. It is the name attribute. Then we can choose the locale. So maybe n.-gb, I think. Style, decimals, decimal places 2, and let's see if it works. Let's go ahead and save it, and I'll preview it on the front end. So right now it is not outputting anything. So if I put 100, it is outputting it as 5.00. So you can now use this. So in case you want to have a more nicely formatted value, you can do that. So let's say, let me remove the condition from the other one first. So, okay. You can see it is formatting the number with the commas and the decimals and everything. So you can say you want to send the formatted number in the form to somebody, but you want to also be able to do calculations. So you can use a calculation field to do all of your calculations, then use the formatted number to make it formatted in a nice way and put that in the email you are sending to your users or in your PDF or anywhere. You can now use that formatted number, and that will make it nicer. Other things you can do are the mirror field. Basically, mirror field is just mirroring whatever the input is and then giving it as an output. So let's see the mirror field. Just write mirror. And in the source field, let's say is the amount. Or yeah, let's use something else. Let me say it is the rate now. If you want to allow editing, you can choose that. That means once the user, first of all, it's kind of like live value. So if you are using BricksForge, you know about the live value field where the user can type in one field and then it creates another field that just has the output. So in case you want to like create a summary or something like that. But the only thing is that with this one, you can now make it that the user can still edit the field. So it's one good example is in terms of your delivery address. So you can say maybe you want the user to put their residential address and say it is the same as, or maybe their billing address the same as the delivery address or something like that. So you can put that live value so that once they are filling in their billing address, it will also automatically fill in the residential address unless the user want to change it. So the user can now still go ahead and change it themselves. But once they've changed it, then it breaks the connection between the one address and the other address. So you can do that. Let's see how it works. So we have the live value. Let's go ahead and save it and see if it works. Let's go to the front end. I will refresh. And as you can see, the live value is just replicating the value, not the label of my rate. So if I choose the rate to be 20 or 10, so that's the label is 10%, but the actual value, if you look at it, the label is 10%, but the value itself is just 10. So that's the value that is being outputted into the mirror field. So you can now use this in case you want to do some other kind of more complex calculation, like say you want to have one field to maybe populate another field or something like that. So you can show the label in a select field or in a radio field or checkbox field, and then the value now gets populated to the mirror field, and you can now use that mirror field to do something else. So that's basically that. Now let me see what other field are there. So we have the mirror, and you have other ones like the dynamic select. For the dynamic select, this is where I showed in the example from the beginning. Let me see if I can pull up the example. Oh no, let me just go to post types and page. I think the page name was called, let me get up my phone. Yeah, let's view it. So remember I showed in the beginning that I have two select fields. Whatever I choose in the first one, let's say comedy, that now populates the second field with some values. If I say I want it to be drama, the second field gets populated with different values based on the first select field. So that's the same thing. That's what I did here. I just used the dynamic select. Let's choose that, and I can give it a label, maybe second select. The only limitation that I found here is in the way the roles are added. When we're using it in Elementor, you could add everything as dynamic data, but with this version, I think they will find a way of increasing it again for us later. But basically, what you do is you now have to choose where the source field is. So the source field is, let's say in this case, what was the select field here? That will be the rate. Let's say it's the rate. Then you now add your roles, so add item. So you have to now do it manually. So if the source value is, let's say 5, then these are the options. So the options, let's say, is 10, 20, 30, 40. You can put dynamic data here, but the trouble is in the source value. You have to manually put the source value. You can't just do a complex dynamic data, because when I was working with Elementor back then, you can do something complex, like you put in a query loop for the initial select field. Then you now use that query loop in this dynamic select, so that you say if the person chooses maybe a taxonomy term, then this set of posts should show up. If the person chooses another dynamic term, another set of posts should show up. But right now, you have to now do it manually. So I hope they would add that same infrastructure, that we're able to use dynamic shortcodes to just populate the entire thing. I will add that to my list of improvements that they can do. But now what you have to do now, okay, say source value. If the source value is 5, show the following options. You create another new item. Second one, you see if the source value is 10, then maybe show David, Jonathan, and Joshua. So let's save it, and you see it in action. Refresh. Oh no, the wrong form. So you see it in action. Because I chose 5% rate, you get 10, 20, 30, 40. If I switch it to 10%, you get my name, David, Jonathan, Joshua. If I switch it to something else, then the field goes blank, because I didn't set any select for those ones, any dynamic select. So that's how it works. I hope that they can give us that option, that we can just use dynamic data for everything, so we can dynamically show what the source value would be and dynamically show what the options would be at the same time. So hopefully that will be for the future. But yeah, those are the main ones. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, so that we know I didn't miss out on anything. So that's it for the form. You can do those dynamic PDF. You can put some other extra fields that are only available to Dynamic Toolbox for bricks, and some other things. The other elements that we added are, let me see, it's called, yeah. Exactly, that is what I was saying. In Elementor, they have the option to make it a nested loop. So you can create a nested loop and just say all of the first, I want to show all of the post titles or the term names, and then have the dynamic loop to show the options directly under the term name, so that it's dynamic. But now you have to do it manually. You can create the options dynamically, but the source value that they have to reference, you have to add it manually. So it defeats the purpose, but it's still nice. The other features that we added, let me see if I can open up their website. Dynamic Toolbox for bricks. Let me switch my screen. So the other features are, with the front-end form, it is actually quite nice. So let me show you an example. So let's go to the back end. Let me go ahead and check under ACF, my post types. I created a post type called movies. That post type has some field groups. The fields are under the movie fields, and basically it has just some fields like release dates, the director, the writer, running time, genre, the viewer rating. Basically, these are just taxonomies. The language is also a taxonomy. Then the cast is a relationship field to the actors, and I also have a background image. Let me show you an example. So let's say I go over to my movies and I choose maybe heads of states. It just shows you this design. You have, this is the template that I created for the movies. So now if you want to have a front-end form to be able to create a new like movie directly on the front end, you can now use the ACF Frontend Form. So let's go back to a page, and I'll just say maybe the add new movie page. And basically all you have to do is add the elements called front end form, ACF front end form. Then within the form, ACF front end form, you now choose where do you want to get the fields from. Is it going to be from the current post? Is it from another post? Or are you creating a new post? So that's what you have to decide. Are you creating a new post? Are you editing an existing post? Or is it the current post you want to edit? The limitation I'm finding here is with other form plugins like WS Form or the bricksbuilder Pro Forms, there's an extra option to be able to pick the from the URL query parameter, but that doesn't exist here. So if you want to edit an existing form, you have to manually choose the form. So you see other post, there is no dynamic data here. So you have to basically manually choose the post you want to be able to edit on the front end, which kind of defeats the purpose of a dynamic form. But if it's for creating a new form, which is what we'll be doing here, that looks nicer. So I'll say create a new post. Then you choose the post type. Let's say it's a new movie. Post status, I'll say published. The fields to show. Do you want the post title? Yes. The post content? Yes. And what else? Then select by. Do you want to show individual fields where you can now go ahead and manually pick and choose? So you can choose item and start manually picking all of the different items, or you can just make your life easier and then say you want to select an entire field group. So field group, and just choose the field group that you want. In this case, it was called movie fields, and it should populate all of them. Yeah, so let's go ahead and save it. Preview on the front end, and you can see we can add our title, our content. You can add the release year, the director, the writer, running time. These are all the fields that I added. Basically, it is mimicking what you have in your ACF meta box area. It's bringing it into the front end. So it even has that nice feature for the relationship field. This is something that I know Pete Harrison has always been asking for, that the bricksbuilder Pro Forms doesn't have this, that is always finding it difficult to be able to just quickly select the fields from the form. But in this case, they make it such that since it's a front-end form, you have exactly the same way you have in your backend for ACF. It's the same way you have it here. So you can select one, you can choose the post type similar to how you have it on the backend. So let's go to the backend and go to movies, and let me choose F1. So it's the same way you have it in the backend, where you can select a post type, select taxonomy, and so on. that's the same. Let me close all of these. The same way it is on not this form. Yeah, on this form. So you can add, remove, and so on. So similar. You can also get the image. If you want to add the background image, you can add it. One limitation I've found with the form is it is mostly focused on the ACF fields. So you only have post title and post content. You can't add things like your featured image, your excerpt, other things like that. They don't exist. The only thing that exists currently is post title, post content, and then all of your ACF fields. They will work seamlessly. So you have your repeater fields, your relationship fields. The way it is on the back end is how you get it on the front end, and then you can edit it how you want. So yeah, that is the main portion. That is it for the front end form. So I just wish that they would add the option to be able to edit a post but with dynamic data. I don't want to be forced to select an existing post. I want to be able to do it dynamically. Say I just put in the ID in my URL query parameter and then it will work out. Hopefully they will add it before the stable release, because this is still the beta release. So yeah, that is the other feature. The next one that they have is called the, let's go down to the bottom, dynamic charts and dynamic API. For the dynamic charts, basically you can just add in your inputs. You can choose some inputs. You can put some data. So this is the input and then the data. Then for accessibility reasons, you can add a fallback content, because a screen, let me even see if I can test it out now. Let me know in the comments if you can hear my screen reader. I will test it out pretty soon. Let me just preview on the front end. So I'll turn on my screen reader now. Is it coming out? Okay, yeah. It's still not working. Okay, so unfortunately it's not the audio is not picking up, I think. Because yeah, it's not picking up because it's also showing on my OBS that there's no audio. Let me see if I can just give me a minute. I'll try. If it doesn't work, then I think I will have to add, let me see, add a new source and audio input capture. Okay. I'm still trying to get, it's not showing up. Okay. Okay, maybe for the next stream I'll try to get it in. At the moment it's not. I'll just close. Yeah, but ideally what will have happened is if I try to access the canvas, I don't know why it's not working with my OBS studio anymore. But if I try to access the canvas, it will just basically read blank. But if you don't, but once you add the fallback content, it is the fallback content that the screen reader will read out. It's almost like alt text for your image. So this fallback content is what the screen reader user will perceive as the graphics. So what you want to do there is basically describe your graphics as if you were like describing it to somebody who is not like visual. So just write everything, basically break it down like a complex image, the alt text for a complex image, put it in your fallback content, and then when a screen reader user goes onto it, they will read the fallback content, while visual users will be able to see the visual display of the chart. So that helps both people. But yeah, that's it for the dynamic charts. There are multiple options. You can choose bar chart, you can choose the line chart. You can decide to choose donut or the pie chart, and the input type, you can choose either simple or a CSV. So you can just basically input the URL of a CSV and it will, that's kind of like a dynamic data. Then hopefully they will add other options like a dynamic option, because right now with the data, I think they're not really that dynamic, because I can't use dynamic data properly in this option. So let me see if it works. So I'll say multiplied by 2 and 5. So that should give me 10. But no, it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. So it doesn't work with dynamic data properly. I think it has something to do with the way the JavaScript is rendered and things like that. So it doesn't work properly with dynamic data. But yeah, that's for the other field charts. The other ones that are there are the dynamic API. I've shown that previously in another video, and I'll probably do a dedicated video again to refresh our memories. And the last field is the ones with the maps. So hopefully we'll get a dedicated video for that as well. But yeah, that is the main thing we want to talk about today, to test out the dynamic toolbox for bricks. Let me know in the comments, do you think it is something that you want to buy or not? Let me try to pull up the link so I can put it in the chat. Oh no, I don't have the link here. I'll put it in the description after the live stream. You can go ahead and check the description for the dynamic toolbox for bricks. But yeah, that is mainly what we wanted to talk about today. Did any of you attend the seminar or the webinar I did with Angela Bowman, where we were talking about accessibility in Elementor and all of that? If you did, how did you find it? Was it a good seminar or webinar? Was it too fast? Were we speaking too slow? Was the documentation not enough? And the PDF that the slides that we presented, were they okay? And so on. And yeah, so yeah, exactly, Oscar. I think that is it. That the dynamic kind of content that we have been expecting from Dynamic.ooo is not yet fully there. It is coming up. I think by the maybe version 1.2 or version 2 or something like that, definitely they will add some more features. But for now, some of the dynamic data related features are missing. Like for the dynamic select in Elementor, you could just use a PowerShell code and create a massive query that does the dynamic select for you. Whereas here, it's not that. It's kind of dynamic, but there's still some limitation. Then, but yeah, we have the PDF. You can have that dynamic PDF. That one works well, and yeah. So we have those fields, and yeah, that is the dynamic toolbox. I think just some minor tweaks here and there to make it more dynamic will be good. But I like the features that they have for now. The dynamic charts, the form improvements. So if you are using the native form, this can help you to add some extra improvements to the form. Then they have the dynamic API and some other features. Oh yeah, thank you, Oscar. Yeah, I was happy when Angela reached out to me to say we should do a meetup, because she's a meetup leader for the Elementor Boulder meetup. So she reached out to me because I attended one of her meetups one time when I was available, and we had a nice time. So she invited me that, okay, we should do another one and speak together. So we spoke in the Global Elementor meetup first, and then we now spoke in the WP Accessibility meetup, and it was fun. And she's going to be doing a follow-up session where she answers users' questions. I think it's in August, the first week of August, I believe. I will probably link to it in the description somewhere so people can register for that. Basically, she is going to be more interactive, and you get to like answer questions, ask questions, and so on. So you can basically get to understand the everything. So anything that you were not clear about from the presentation, because we had to speed up at some point, you can get to ask your questions there, and she will try to answer them as easily as she can, or as simply as she can. But yeah, thank you all for joining in today. I hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow, I'll be going live again around a similar time, but that one will be more focused on talking about the Elementor accessibility. So I'll be like going through some of the Elementor like elements that I talked about in our meetup. We'll be going through that in the live stream. So I will just check out the tabs, the accordions. We'll basically do a comparison between what we have now and what is in some of those patterns that I shared in the slides. So see what are the discrepancies. Hopefully by then I'll be able to fix this NVDA that is not like showing up on the stream. Worst case scenario, I will switch over to using my Mac, because right now I'm working with Windows. So maybe worst case scenario, I'll be using Mac and be using VoiceOver with Mac, because VoiceOver works better, at least for a live stream. But yeah, thank you all very much for joining in. I'll be jumping off now, and I'll see you tomorrow if you are able to attend, and we'll see that. Yeah. Oh yeah, okay, before I jump off, accessibility. Well, the problem is the meetups are the only people I connect with are more Elementor based people. The meetups are Elementor based meetups. So like the UK Elementor meetup, the global Elementor meetup, and so on. So that's why I'm always talking about Elementor. But hopefully maybe on a live stream, or once I can get somebody who is an accessibility expert in bricks, I'll be able to do maybe kind of an interview or a live stream with them, and we'll all talk about accessibility together. So hopefully that will be done at some point. I'll try to make that happen soon enough. But yeah, with bricks, most of the features are already there. Like the landmark regions are already set up, because it's a theme, not a page builder. So it has more control. So you can control how the landmarks are. So the header, the footer, the main. Whereas with Elementor, it's a page builder. It has to rely on your theme, and it tries not to interfere too much with the theme, and that now creates some issues sometimes, and so on. But yeah, that is what we have. But I'll try tomorrow with Elementor. Then I think hopefully either next week, or I'll probably wait until after the meetup. Let me see if I can find the dates for the meetup, which is the one by Amber Hines, where she'll be doing the breakdown of the different page builders. After that meetup, I think that same week, probably I think that meetup will be on a Monday. So on the Thursday, I'll do a follow-up live stream where I'll now just basically go through what she said in the meetup and talk more on the bricks aspect. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So that's the plan. I think the meetup is, let me see, meetup WP accessibility. Let me see if I can find it. Let me switch my screen. It's going to be on, okay, so it's Tuesday, August 19th at 1 a.m. BST, which is going to be very hard for me because I live in the UK. That is 1 a.m. in the night, which is why I think they had a poll recently to say will they continue doing the Monday meetup, because the Monday meetup, it is good for people in, I think, Australia and the US, because the time favors them. But in the EU and the UK, it is very bad for us because it is like 1 a.m. in the morning, so which is very hard for some people to stay awake to do it, or to at least attend. So I think the turnout for the Monday or Tuesday meetups tends to be, well, that's Monday meetups for people in the US. It tends to be a bit harder to attend by people who are not in the US, or I think Australia or somewhere. But yeah, I'll try to attend that meetup, get a summary, and then on Thursday of that same week, we'll do our own live stream and just basically go through the results and talk about it. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for today's stream. Thank you for joining in, and I'll see you tomorrow. So